Is
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and once again, I'm going to be your host. And today, we're talking about finding real estate opportunities around the world with my guest, Oren Chazan. Oren, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Becky. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I know this is a big topic that a lot of people are probably interested in, and everybody out there wishes, I'm sure, they can find that perfect property for them in like the perfect place that they love. So let's talk about your journey today by starting with your background as a digital nomad and how you got started.
All right, so I've been an entrepreneur for, let's say, about 12 years. I started my first company, my first like my own company 10 years ago. And it was a tech company. It was it was like an app for digital marketing. So yeah, me and a business partner, we owned this company for a while, and at some point, things changed a little bit, and uh, my partner left. I had to change things a bit in the company, and I ended up very randomly getting into this uh, entrepreneurship program that was in Scotland. So at the time, I was with my partner then, and she also, well, once I got accepted to this program with my startup, she decided to apply as well, and we basically both got in, and we just packed a whole lot of stuff. Like it was very not non-minimalistic, and we packed a whole lot of stuff where we left for like 6 months in Scotland. So yeah, I mean, it was a longer story, but that's the long story short. So that's how we started that's how I started it was about 7 years ago. Um, and then since I've been traveling with her, with my current partner, um, basically around the world. So I've changed my business. It used to be the startup, but now I'm a more like a freelance, and I do some entrepreneurship, and this new real estate business is a new thing, and I'm excited to excited to bring it to fruition finally.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into my next question. So, you're now shifting, it sounds like, from an online business to a physical business. So, can you tell us, like, I mean, what is the business that you were working on just before this, and why did you decide to transition?
Well, I don't think that, well, a complete transition is probably not the right word, although I don't know yet, because it's all very new, but I'm not giving up my day job, let's say. Uh,
Important.
yes, I'm gonna keep, well, at least my bigger clients. So yeah, I mean, the transition happened quite naturally over the past year or so. So, about a year or so ago, my now business partner, like a new business partner. Um, we were in a mastermind together. He kind of asked me, we were talking about real estate for like a random discussion about real estate. And like after the call was finished, he texted me. He was like, are you interested in trying to find some real estate and do our own project? And I was intrigued, and we both started thinking about it. And yeah, we didn't know where it's going to go. We weren't sure, but it was so I think the main idea was if you're the entrepreneur of a real estate project, you get some kind of margin. And that margin, depending on the size of the project, is can be like your retirement fund, or it can be like just a nice, depending on the size, can be just a nice little ramp up of your income, or it can be your complete, yeah, retirement plan. So it depends. So we didn't actually know what we're going for at that point, but I've already looked into some real estate in the past, for different reasons, and we've discussed this in the past with this business partner, and yeah, we decided to start looking and see where it takes us, and here we are today. So not
Yeah.
complete transition, not moving tour, but still keeping the most of my work. I just wanted to add that yeah, naturally when things got more intense working on this project, then I had to set some more time aside for this for working on it, and I shifted some of my clients that were already on their way out, kind of. So I kind of stopped working on that and moved most of my time to work on this project.
Yeah, as you said, you're not sure exactly where it's going to go or how much of your overall business it's going to be. From what I understand, and you can confirm this, from what I understand, real estate is a lot of physical based work up front. And then if you're lucky, maybe you can get people in place that are going to help you on the ground. And it doesn't always have to be totally tied to that location once you get everything set up for yourself.
Yeah, so I'm strong, but in general, I'm a strong believer in like having good business partners. And from day one, we understood that this is I think this is one of our biggest lessons that we learned, that you have to have a local partner, even if you are willing to be around and willing to go and visit like properties and check them out and negotiate with the owners, etc. um, you have to have someone that's on the ground, that knows the rules, knows the regulations, can communicate with local people, can get some information from, I don't know, from the city hall or whatever. Like there's so many things to consider that you don't even know walking into these kinds of projects. So yeah, I guess it's this is one of the biggest takeaways from this project is you have to have a local partner. That's like just the most important thing.
Okay, we're going to get into that. So now we're going to shift over to the finding the real estate opportunities part. And so, how did you first start looking with your business partner, and where did you begin your search, and where did it end up?
So yeah, we started out actually. Well, a brief note about the first real estate I looked at. So about 3 years ago, I was in Costa Rica and I overheard a real estate agent trying to sell this plot of land. Obviously, he was doing it on purpose, right? Like speaking really loud and trying to sell this. But I was enchanted by the idea of this. It was like a little strip of land, just like right on the beach, with inside like just outside of like a nature reserve. It was absolutely beautiful. And so that was like the first thing I was looking at. And then I kind of uh, started talking to people I know who are into real estate and just like gathering information, because you don't I didn't even know what I need to ask while I was doing this. So that was like the beginning of this journey. But about a year ago, when we started out this project, we were looking in Portugal. Our initial idea was to buy some land and to build on it. So it was like around central Portugal, um, around Peniche. That's a little town between Lisbon and Porto. And we found a really nice plot of land that's kind of overlooking the ocean. I mean, if you look very, if you would look like if you were on a second floor, and it was a really nice deal, but something happened. We're not quite sure what exactly, but the owners like backed out of the deal. We were already like we flew in to sign the documents and everything and the contract, but it just didn't work out. We had a few more things lined up in Portugal, but it ended up that the things that we really wanted were not available or not completely available. So that was a start. The idea of Portugal was actually, I mean, because the people we know are very much fans of Portugal. They like the nature there, and being near the ocean is always like a good a good point for real estate, for value, like for the value of the property values. So, but still, so when we noticed, so Portugal is very big, but we were very focused. We had like the local partner that we were working with only knew that area, and we decided not to go like completely start over in Portugal. And my partner is a very big fan of Italy. So that's where we are today. We moved to Italy. It apparently I wasn't ready for this, but apparently the prices are actually probably even cheaper than Portugal now, Italy. I mean, depending on the deal you find, obviously it changes by the region. Um, but we were looking in northern Italy, which is a bit more developed in the south, as far as I know. So around Milan, Venice, Verona, that area. And there were a few things we found. So we started out looking at this very beautiful farmhouse we thought of renovating. That was the first idea, but that ended up not being exactly what we needed. So we changed to like a state house, and we wanted to make like building apartments and selling them as a project. And that didn't work out. We didn't find the right investors for that. And yeah, where we are today is that we recently purchased a small hotel in the hills above Lake Maggiore, and just very close to the border with Switzerland. And we renovated it, and we're turning it into a co-living space. So that's that's where we started, and that's where we are today.
Well, first of all, congratulations. You had quite a journey to find all of these things. I have to ask, like, how were you looking? Because I know of a website called Idealista, which does
Yeah.
cover Italy, Portugal, and Spain at least, maybe more. And that
Well, you answered.
Okay, because that is such an
Yeah.
addictive website for anybody who has not been on this Idealista. It's like .it for Italy, .pt for Portugal. You literally will scan for hours because they make everything look so intriguing. So is that where you first
Yes.
found the property that you purchased in Italy?
Yeah, so Italy definitely we found it through this through Idealista. It's very addictive. If anyone heard the term real estate porn, that's definitely a place to go if you're into that. Uh, yeah, so we did narrow it down. So also in Portugal we did a bit of the same, but the places we did find were through local contacts, so they were actually not listed. But in Italy, yeah, everything we looked at was listed. We contacted them. So my partner goes there a lot for work, for business. We contacted them through the website, and we set up some meetings. And he started by going on a tour of properties, like 10 properties a day,
Oh, wow.
like for like 3 or 4 days, just looking, talking to people, checking out the area and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely from Idealista. At least in
Oh,
Italy, that was that was the best way to find things.
it is a great website for all of you listening and watching right now. My next question, I'm sure everybody's thinking about this. So, what are the mortgage opportunities like in, let's say, Portugal versus Italy? Do you know of countries that will actually give a mortgage to people who are not passport holders or residents of that country?
Yes, so this came up a lot during our project because some of our investors were interested in getting mortgages. So Portugal is definitely a country that still gives out mortgages. It's even better if you are a resident or a citizen of Portugal, but as long as you can prove like the right income and everything, you don't have to be. So I think that the percentages, I'm not gonna say not any numbers right now because I don't want to don't want to give people wrong figures, but in Portugal, you can get around 60 to 70% in funding for as long as you have, you can prove your income, you can prove you have um, like a clean background, etc. So that's for mortgages in Portugal. In Italy, on the other hand, it's not that easy. So even if you are an Italian citizen or resident, it's going to be very difficult to get a mortgage. Just the reason I've heard for this is that just Italian banks have thousands of properties that are that were like foreclosed to them, so they're not interested in like holding more property. So it's very difficult to find. Although we do know that there are funding options once you buy, like once you have the property. So if you want to renovate the property, there's different deals you can get, and banks are happy to give funding for renovations once the property is in your hand, as opposed to giving you a mortgage in order to buy the property. So I know a lot of people are interested in like golden visas. This is also something I've been looking into for different reasons. So I know Portugal has changed, and the prices for a golden visa has gone up very quite quite steeply. So I think it's about 500,000 euros these days. I'm not sure. Um, but and Italy has a similar, but I'm not quite sure. I think it's the same, 500,000 euros. But places like Greece offer interesting opportunities for people who are looking into like residency and investment. So yeah, they'll also probably give some mortgages depending on the property and the person. So yeah, there are still plenty of places that you can get a mortgage in Europe, but Italy is sadly not one of them.
So you guys did not get a mortgage for your property at all.
No, we basically what we did is we found something that we could fund ourselves as a group. So we have a group, we are a group of 5 investors, including ourselves, obviously. So we just put in our own money, and yeah, we're gonna have to find some yeah, so we did a crowdfunding, and we're gonna have to find interesting ways of funding if we need to do like a big renovation or something. But then again, once we own the property, banks are more than happy to help. So it's a bit of a different way of doing things, I
Was there
guess.
were there any additional costs when you closed? So if you're paying in cash, first of all, did you get a kind of discount because you could pay in cash? And then were there additional fees on top? And if so, what was the ballpark of that?
Yeah, so I guess it really depends. So of course taxes. So there are many taxes and stuff. We didn't actually get any better deal just because we paid in cash. Um, the deal was pretty good in the first place, so so I'm happy with it. But yeah, so there are taxes, and I can't really give a ballpark, but let's say prepare to have at least I don't know, 10% of the value of the property, if not 15% in different charges. So there's like notary fees for the signing of the for the deed transfer. There are taxes, some property taxes that are calculated in a very weird way. Like I would give you a number, but it's so complicated because it's mostly for historical for buildings that are not new. The value of the property is taxed by the historical value and not the actual value, which is actually better for people who are purchasing. So it's less. So it's not the current value that you bought it, but it's the value that's written in like Chamber of Commerce or something. I'm not sure. It's all some of these things are a blur to me. So we have this local partner, as I said, that's helping us, and they say, here, this is the number, this is what you have to pay. So yeah, so there's taxes, there's notary fees, there's like opening a company if you're not buying it privately. So if you're buying the property as a group, you're gonna have to create a company to buy the property. That takes time and money and like a lot of bureaucracy. So Italy is not the easiest place to do business. Like, a lot of things take time. but again, no complaints. This is just something that it's something that anyone that wants to do projects similar to this needs to know that there's going to be a lot of bureaucracy. Never mind where you go. Like there's always lots of forms, lots of steps that take time, government things that you need to wait for weeks sometimes. So yeah, that's always something to take into consideration. And we did things, we tried to keep things pretty quick, but still a lot of things like took more time than we were hoping for. So yeah, and so that's basically, we also paid some about, let's say about 5,000 euros for like the local partner that helped us with all the, communications, with all the contracts, with the preliminary contract with the seller, etc. So yeah, we spent about, I'd say about 10,000 euros for like service providers that are around. So notaries, just people a company that helped with the purchase and like building the company, etc. So it was not cheap, but I mean, for a large deal, it's fine. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so if I understand what you're saying correctly, you were able, it didn't matter where you were from, where all of the owners were from. You had to set up a company in Italy and you all, are a percentage owner of this property, but it has to be run through the company in
Yeah,
Italy.
of the company basically. So yeah, the residencies and passports didn't matter. There was a slight complication since we weren't actually there for the signing. Like well, most of us, I was there, but most of us weren't there for the signing. So we had to like get a power of attorney and sign with the notary. So, but in general, there's no restriction as to who can be an owner of the company. Actually, my company that's in Bulgaria is part owner of this company. So I am personally not an owner of this company, but my company is. So it's a whole thing. There's lots of tax things to consider while you're doing it. So get a tax
Hire
consultant as
hire a
well.
consultant. Yes, anytime you're getting involved with real estate. But one thought I had when you told me about this is that it's a really nice hack if you can get together with friends to be able to have a place to live. Now, I know you guys are going to try to set this up as a co-living, but if you're someone that can't afford your own house, your own apartment even, if you can get together with friends and buy something without a mortgage, and have access suddenly to like a 10-bedroom hotel or a 12-bedroom hotel, it's like suddenly you can partially own something, have these big common areas on top of it, have some land perhaps around your building, and you don't have to break the bank.
Yeah, that was our idea. I mean, again, it's still not a small amount of money in any term. I mean, at least not in my terms. So it's still quite a large amount of money, but still, it is a better idea to have partners. But I do think, like my warning in this area would be to note like the amount of partners. So initially, when we were looking into Portugal, into building and renovating, then we were thinking of having like more partners, and more partners with a larger share, etc. So, and that becomes, the more partners you have, the more complicated things are. So I do believe in doing things. This is how I do things in general in my normal business or in the real estate business. I always work with partners. So the local partners, but also people who are doing this with me. And it's both a way to share the load of, just have someone to talk to, and the financial load, obviously, but also have someone to share the work with you. Depending, I mean, our partnership is a bit different because we're two entrepreneurs that are going to manage the company as well, while the other investors are more silent. But yeah, definitely, I think partnering up is a way better way to get property, and you can, like, the ramp up is, so for every 10-20 meters more that you buy, which is like another room, another bedroom, another bathroom, etc., it's not a like linear, so the price doesn't go up that much. So again, like you can measure, like level it out, kind of average it out, and if you have friends that you can purchase with, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a very good way to do things.
I'm going to give you an example. So I'm fully transparent. I bought a one-bedroom apartment in Lisbon a few years ago, and I had to put down about $50,000 of my own money. It was about 60 with the closing.
Yeah,
But I have access to like 65 square meters. It's just a one bedroom. There's no yard, there's nothing else. If I
yeah,
put in that much money, and I have a mortgage, if I put in that much money, and then four or five of my other friends put in that much money, I'd imagine, we could go pretty far towards finding some kind of, multi-bedroom house. And to
yeah,
not have a mortgage on that would be amazing. So, I mean, to get so much more space, if you can manage all of the bureaucracy, is
yeah.
incredible. And maybe more nomads might start thinking in this way, or, in the future, even younger people who can't save up like such a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be more of the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, especially in the Nomad community, we mostly have jobs that are usually pay well, and we are saving money by, well, at least I am, by living in cheaper countries than the one I come from. So, and we have this kind of life hack that we can decide our income and our like how much we spend, etc. So I do hope. I mean, I don't believe in competition, especially not in the co-living and communal living kind of world. I would love for as many people as possible to have these kind of properties and have people over. And the more we have these, will the better our lives will be, right? Like we can jump in between these kind of communal living instead of going to expensive cities. There's a there's a whole philosophy around that, but yeah.
I think with co-livings, you're not hoping that your guests are going to stay the whole year, and often they can't due to visa reasons. So
No,
you need
no,
to share
yeah,
the network and, hope that more friends are going to build places like this, have places available, because a digital nomad is usually on the move in some way throughout the year.
yeah, 100%. And so uh, every person have their own like preference of how to live, where they want to live. And I think there's so much opportunity in real estate. There always is, but it's the fear of, bureaucracy and money and, the size of the projects and, just the figures sometimes are difficult to comprehend. But if you jump over that fence uh, of that fear, then it will happen. Like if you want this, if it's something you want, I think it's still quite achievable in a lot of places, especially in Europe. It's an aging population, right? And it's still regulated quite heavily. So the idea is the risks are a bit lower than in like developing countries. Like I'd love to buy a house in Buenos Aires, but the risks are too high because you don't know that what's going to happen in the future. And in my opinion, Europe is the risk is way smaller than developing countries, and there's so much property, especially like old ones for renovation. So yeah, I'm encouraging everyone to to go and build their own co-living space, or at least to have their own house. That's just
I'm going to throw in some marketing for Japan. I spent many years there, and they still don't have any regulations about who can own who is a foreigner. So
really,
if you are from outside of Japan, you can come in and buy something. There's a lot of, you said, aging population for
oh
sure
yeah,
in Japan. The issue, of course, is always the language barrier. So the point, like you made before, is to get a local partner and try your best to start navigating it. But you, of course, like you said about Italy, your business partner loved Italy, you've got to love this culture already. Because if you don't, if you are in Japan, for example, if you're not ready to follow the local rules, it's not going to
yeah,
be pleasant. And so I think all of us who buy real estate anywhere, we need to, be ready to adapt and fit in, not be the one building some crazy things next door that's going to, upset a lot
Yeah.
of people. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think in general, the reason why I've been looking all around, like when I'm traveling, I've been looking at real estate, but Europe feels to me as I am a European citizen, feels to me a place where I belong and am wanted. As opposed to some places like Thailand, I know, like, okay, no one will actually tell me that, but sometimes I feel these like, nomad spots or expat spots are a bit too, like, they get too touristic and they lose their kind of local vibe a bit. And I felt like Europe is a place where I can just come in. I'm welcome. And I can blend in. Of course, I'm learning Italian. Still a bit new to it, but yeah.
yeah, I know, for example, like Portugal gets a lot of news about, are we really
Mm,
welcome? Did you
yeah.
take an opportunity from a local? And you may have, maybe I did, for example, but it's also just working with the laws, and if maybe you're going to be able to make your place available to a local in the future if you rent it out. And dealing with the pricing of rent, it's complicated, but I think just going in with this idea, you're going to try to do the best for the community and also yourself. You never know what will happen to your property or how it will be used in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important to think about the local culture as well, of course.
Yeah. Try and blend in. Yeah, even if you're in a foreign place, like I think working with the community around you is probably the most important thing, especially when you're doing co-living. When you're just buying your own apartment, then you can get away with it, maybe. Probably also not really, but when you're creating a business, yeah, it's definitely something that you need to consider the community that's around you.
Yes. So where do you think are some, like you've been mentioning Europe a lot. Where do you think is are the best opportunities right now for real estate if somebody is starting to think about, well, maybe I want to look and get my friends together and buy something?
Well, I've been hearing a lot about Greece recently, so I know this is something that, like, some of these places are up and coming. So Saloniki, around Athens, like some new neighborhoods are being built, and I know Greece is very, it's very laid back, and they also have the whole golden visa stuff, so that can be helpful for people who are not non-Europeans. Um, so yeah, we've been looking Italy and Portugal. So Portugal also has lots of good opportunities. Spain has lots of good opportunities. And in general, I think Europe outside of the big cities, you are you probably, if you look hard enough, you'll probably find very good deals that you can go with. I'd say I've been also looking in Thailand and in South America. So the bureaucracy in some of these places can be a bit more complicated, or the regulation stuff, but I know that a lot of people are investing in Thailand now also, because the prices there are still affordable, and the weather is like, yeah, tropical weather, for the people who like that kind of thing. Yeah, so I don't know much about the real estate market in Thailand, but once you grasp the main concepts and not the numbers and how to calculate things and how to check for if is it good enough, then it will work for any currency in any country. So once you have the little, spreadsheet with the numbers, then it's the same probably worldwide. Like you just need to know what to look for, basically.
Yeah. And so I know you've just started in Italy. If you
Yeah.
had to buy your next property, where would you like it to be?
That's an interesting question. I think I would like to try look into Portugal. But also I'm a resident of Bulgaria and I'm planning to keep that. So I think Bulgaria is also a great place to buy property. There is very so I think probably that will be my next project. I don't know when, if it's going to be next year or in 10 years and 5 years. Not sure yet, but there are already th some things on the, in the oven. So let's see what turns out.
I do know in Bulgaria, maybe you can confirm this. I'm not from the EU, I'm American. And from what I understand in Bulgaria, you cannot buy land if you are not from the EU. You have to be an EU citizen, but you could buy an apartment.
Yes. As far as I know, again, this needs checking. Like it also changes over the years, But even me as a resident, I have to wait. I have to be not a new resident. So I have to be a resident for at least 2 years to buy a piece of land. So you can't just get residency and buy a piece of land. You can buy apartment, any nationality. It's not a problem, but yeah, land is still a bit of a problem for non-residents and non-EU. But there are ways around it. It's the same in a lot of countries, especially like Thailand. Most of Southeast Asia have the same kind of regulation. You're not allowed to buy land as a foreigner, and people get around it. Like there are ways to get around it, legal ways, obviously. So yeah, I mean there are different ways to do it.
I mean, I'm glad they have rules like this in place. It's important to, make sure that there's not a majority owner, of course. So respect to those rules, but just so people are aware when we talk about these places. Well, Oren, thank you so much for sharing all of this today. I wish you so much luck in Italy. I'm excited to see how that your property progresses. Is there anything else you would like to share with us before you go?
No, come and visit us. That's the only thing I come and visit us, Montino community in Italy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we'll have to do a follow-up when you get things ready.
yes, we'll definitely share some photos. Yeah, I think we're gonna use the Nomad World uh, forum to show some stuff and get people excited.
Yeah, Digital Nomad World, thank you. And if people want to follow you, where can they go?
Okay, so on Instagram we are a Montino community. My personal Instagram is Oren Chazan. I'm going to probably share a lot of a lot of like on both. Yeah, so my name in any of the social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you'll find me.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, Oren, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me.